Christ is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for November 7th, 2025. Well, my goodness, everyone, I take a day off and the market falls apart. What is going on here? Okay, message received. I just have to work every day, I guess. Let's take a look at what happened overnight and stop being silly here. If we take a look, Asian markets had a pretty rough night last night, continuing to move lower. If we take a look at Australian markets, down 58.60 or 0.66% lower. Hong Kong was down 244.07 or 0.92%. We saw South Korea down 72.69, 1.81%. The Nikkei fell 607.31 or 1.19%. India was lower by $17.40 or 0.07%. And then we saw Shanghai down $10.20 or 0.25% overnight. If we take a look at what's going on in European markets this morning, European markets are right across the board, with the DAX decidedly bearish. DAX down this morning 222.92 or 0.94% lower. FTSE's down 73.78 or 0.76% lower. And the CAC is down 50.98 or 0.64% lower this morning. U.S. futures are lower and seem to be falling at the moment. We've got the Dow futures down 156 points. S&P 500 futures are down 31 points, and the NASDAQ futures are down 153 points here at the moment. And they do look like they're continuing to move a bit lower here this morning so far. Let's take a look at some of the other markets in here and see what's going on in bonds. In bonds this morning, we've got just a little tiny mix. The 2-year bond has come down just a little bit to 3.57%. 10-year bond is hanging in there at 410, and the 30-year is at 470, showing a little bit of stubbornness there in those bond prices. Interestingly enough, we're finally getting a pullback here in the dollar as a result. And as you can see, a nice little upside trend still holding in play. We had this area here that we broke out of just barely, and now we're coming back. Let's see if we can hold a little price support here in that, right in there on that US dollar. Keep an eye on that. If we take a look at what's going on in the precious metals here this morning, we've got gold moving higher a bit this morning. Right now up $13.60 an ounce. 4,460 an ounce here at the moment. Silver is moving higher by 40 cents an ounce at 48.35 an ounce in silver futures this morning. Let's take a look at copper. Copper is, well, a little tiny bit higher. Copper futures up 0.2 cents here at the moment, so keep an eye on that. Platinum is moving up by $17.50 an ounce, or 1.14%. And palladium still hanging just a little bit, not quite getting as much going here just yet, Palladium down $3.40 an ounce at 0.24%. Let's grab a look at those cryptos here this morning because they're having a little bit of a rough morning. IBIT here you can see moving lower, representing Bitcoin, possibly breaking a pretty substantial area of price support here in the chart. Right now, Bitcoin is down 981.74 a coin. If we take a look at Ether, it is down 74.33 a coin, and also threatening to break this recent low. So keep an eye on that. We break a low like that here. Whoops. Let's get the right chart. There we go. We break a low like this right here, and then we have that chance we could move on down into this area of price support. So kind of keep an eye on some of these cryptos. And Solana also moving a little bit lower here today, but down $3.66. Looks like it's bounced off of its low, only down 2.25%. So keep an eye there. Let's take a look at what we've got going on in oil this morning. USO is a little tiny bit stronger here today. After recovering a bit yesterday, up 50 cents a barrel at 59.92 a barrel here this morning. Brent crude is coming in up 56 cents at 63.94 a barrel, and natural gas is lower here this morning after a nice recovery yesterday, down only about just a tiny bit over a penny. So keep an eye on UNG and maybe Boyle in here. I think both of those have potential of setting up here in these charts. Let's take a look at staying on that oil theme. Take a look at whoops. Boy, there we go. XLE, the producers here in oil and gas, starting to show a little bit of bullishness here, trying to break this downtrend. We've been in this wedging pattern, trying to push on through. So take a look at some of those oil producers out there. Maybe trying to come around in some of those. Keep a close eye on them. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Friday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these index charts, see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at these charts for what they are, not for what we want them to be. We want to look at very clearly what's going on in the price action and try to shake off that bias that we might have in the market. Well, obviously, that pushback up here had a quick reversal here in that chart. Now the question for today is, will the bears be able to follow through to the downside here? One of the things that I had been talking about is that possibility that we could fill this gap if we broke that down. And so you notice we're trying to hold here this morning. We held Thursday right there on that low. But if those bears were to have anything to say here, I think there is a chance we could move on through and fill this gap in the diamonds. Now, if we bounce there, great. If we bounce back up, we'll be watching, some of this downtrend in here and probably some of this resistance right here to make sure if we can get back through there, we're probably going to be fine. If we can get through and hold, we'll be fine. If we get up in here and show failure, that's going to be a bit of a problem for us. So it really is going to depend on how we follow through here today. Will the bulls be able to take back the reins here? Will the bears be able to push that on through? Because if we were to break below here and keep moving lower, then I would look for this next area of price support here in the chart to be tested. That could be some pretty big moves. pretty big price action moves in the chart. If the bulls can take back over here and whipsaw this today, then I think we could get a good push and even stretch all the way up here. So big point moves are possible on this Friday, I think. If we take a look at the SPY, SPY, boy, that nasty reversal in there, and we did fill that last gap here. There's that big gap, but we're pushing on lower here this morning. We've broken down through this high point here in the SPY and pushing into this next area of price support. So watch that carefully. If it holds here, I think we're in good shape, and then we'll start looking to see if those bulls have enough energy to bounce that right back up into some of this resistance here in the chart. But unfortunately, now we're starting to build some layers of resistance here in the Qs. So we're going to need some good energy to push us back up through some of that area here. Watch that carefully. We could catch some resistance right in here and catch it right in here. If the bears were to have that enough energy here today to break us down below this area of price support, that's going to be kind of critical, I think. We're starting to make some technical breaks here in price action that could be concerning, and then push us on down into some of these next levels here in the chart. Now, I really should have taken you back over here to our major moving averages. And you could see that real possibility here today that we could seek out this 50-day moving average here on the SPY. The question is, will it hold as support? Same thing is true for the diamonds, but diamonds have a bigger potential move to maybe test that 50-day moving average. So yeah, we'll want to be watching those carefully. Now the QQQ also threatening that look at the 50-day moving average. And if we look at this and we see those bears, if they can push on through here today, we've closed all of those major gaps in that move to the upside. But if we were to push us on down to that next area of price support, well, we're probably looking at that 50-day moving average coming into view pretty quickly. And oftentimes we get to a 50-day moving average, and what happens is it just draws us to it. It pulls on the price action of the chart. So I wouldn't rule out that as a possibility. But if those bulls can shake this off today, the next thing where I'm going to be looking for is to see if we can break back through that area right there. We need to push back up, and remember, we're going to be pushing up into this downtrend break and that price action right here. If we can break through there, then I'm looking right here is that next area that's going to challenge that QQQ. And I'll be watching this pretty closely, because if we can't follow through on this, that's going to be the lower high I'm going to be looking at for a potential short in the QQQ if we really start to make a correction happen here in the markets. And then if we take a look at our Russell, IWM struggling in here as well yesterday, reversing, coming back into this next area of price support in the chart. Now, the big question is, if the bulls have anything to say in here, will those bulls be able to bounce off of this area and push back up into this zone of resistance? And that zone of resistance, you can see there's a lot of price action in here that could provide some congestion. So once again, when we start pushing up into here, that's going to be critical to how we follow through on this, because if we can't get back through that area up in here, then I'm going to be watching for that potential of the rollover, the lower high, and possibly shorting conditions starting to come up in the market. Now, you'll look right here, we have already failed the 50-day moving average, and that really makes this a critical situation here for IWM. They've got to push back through there and prove to hold that 50-day moving average. Otherwise, we could see this continue on lower. If those bears were to have anything to say here this morning and push us through, remember, I've been talking about this big black candle here for a while in IWM, that possibility that we could push this on down through that big black candle and into this next area of price support does exist. So watch carefully if we get some of those big point moves coming in the market. If we take a look at our VIX here, our VIX, well, for Pete's sake, I'd leave a day and I can't type anymore. We take a look at the VIX and pushing back up. So my worry in here, as I talk about a lot, it's never that first move down that's a big problem in the markets, or the first move up in the VIX that's a big problem. It's if it happens to hold support and we create a higher low in here, that starts an upside trend. And if those bears were to have anything to say here to follow through on this, I think that possibility of us stretching on up in here is in the cards, whether we like it or not. Just be watching for some pretty potential big point down moves if we're going to move down and contact those 50-day moving averages. Now, if the bears, if the bulls can shake this off, it's entirely possible we could just be in a consolidating zone here for a little bit as well. So if they were to push this back, find this support in here, no problem. It's if they break back down here, we might be looking at those bulls recovering and getting back in that upside move. So watch that carefully on the VIX. Our T2122, now our T2122 pulled back nicely yesterday, but I got to tell you, it didn't pull back as much as you'd expect. As we bounced back up at the end of the day, we relieved that pressure. So if those bears really get going here this morning, I'm not saying they will, but if they do, we still have a pretty substantial space here for those bears to work in if they get a little bit tenacious. So be prepared. We haven't been down here and stayed down here in this bearish reversal zone for quite a long time. Watch that carefully here. Now, if the bulls can find inspiration in here, then I would look for that opportunity for that stretch on higher here. So keep an eye on that. We have plenty of upside room for the bulls here to move. T2108 also pulling back yesterday. But once again, I don't see this as a major problem just yet. We didn't take out that recent low on yesterday's selling because of the bounce back. So if those bulls can hold on in here, I see that every reason that we could reverse this here today. And it is a Friday. Fridays have been typically higher this summer and fall. So watch that carefully. If we do get that bullish action in here, we might get that little bit of push up. Now we need to get back through some of these levels here. 35% here on is going to help a lot. You know, the percentage of stocks above the 40-day, we're awfully weak here at the moment. If we can get through that, then maybe stretching on up here toward 40%. But if those bears are a little bit feisty and if they can push us down, watch that carefully here. Breaking back below 30, the critical place, I think, is watching this low right in here. If we were to break below that area here, notice over here we're breaking some support here in that chart. If that's the case, then I think we have that chance. We could move on down here toward 20%. So keep an eye on that. Our T2107 percentage of stocks below or above the 200-day moving average. That's showing some weakness here still. As you can see, we did break this area in the chart on this last move lower, and it really wasn't an impressive bounce back here just yet. So if those bears were to have anything to say, boy, it's not hard to see that possibility. They could start breaking that on down below 45% and pushing back here. We've got a mid-range area we could catch some support, or maybe catching support right in here around 40% of the stocks holding above their 200-day moving average. Now, if the bulls can shake this off here today, maybe we can grab on to a little bit of this choppy consolidation in here and see that push back up, get back above 45%, maybe start pushing back up in here to that mid-range or even up toward that 50% and that downtrend here in T2107. And then let's take a look at our T2101. This is going to be the critical situation here. T2101 pulling back yesterday. Let's actually look at that price action yesterday. We gapped down yesterday on that bearish move, and then as the bulls were pushing back, that breadth came back here just a little bit. This has been pretty critical in here, how our breadth has been acting. Obviously, we've got a lot of stocks not participating in here to the upside, so we need more of that push of breadth. And looking over at the futures right now, we are bouncing back up here a little bit, so maybe they're trying to recover here in the pre-market on some earnings reports. But watch that carefully. We need to see that breadth moving to the upside with those bulls. We cannot continue to see this move where as we try to get bullish, the breadth shrinks back. So watch that carefully. We need to see that breadth moving with the bulls to the upside to provide a little bit of participation help in there on the market. If we continue to see the majority of stocks remaining weak and we're only being led by tech giants, that's a problem for us here, and it's starting to become could become a glaring problem if those big tech giants were to really start rolling over. So watch that carefully. Not saying that's going to happen, just watch for the potential. Let's take a look at let's take a look at our economic calendar here first. Our economic calendar, we've had more delayed reports in here than anything this week, so we're so far behind on any kind of data. We're kind of flying by the seat of our pants because of the government shutdown in the longest one in history. We've got some Fed speak here this morning. We've got an employment situation number that we won't get. That'll be delayed. We've got a consumer sentiment number. I'm not sure we'll get that one, but we've got a Baker Hughes. We've got Mirren that will be speaking here today, and we have a consumer credit report. So kind of keep an eye on those for today. If we take a look at our earnings calendar, much lighter day on the earnings front here. These are the notables for the day. You could grab a screenshot of that, but and all of our earnings reports are this morning. There are no reports this afternoon, so keep an eye on those as reports come in here. Obviously, there's more reports than this. These are the notables, but we'll see if it gives us enough bullish or bearish energy for the markets to follow through one way or another. So watch those closely here for today. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful, helpful to your trading, if you could click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel a lot, and thank you so much for everyone who does do that. I truly appreciate it. Should be good to go for answering comments, so if there's questions, anything like that I can help you with, please feel free to put that in those comments. And also, if you could do me that favor, I haven't asked this for a while, but just share this video on your social media feed. That helps contact more people. If you find it helpful, maybe there's some others that will as well. So thank you to everyone who does take the time to do that. I do truly appreciate it. Let's take a look at some of these stocks that could be setting up for today. But remember, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence and be very careful. You should never ever blindly follow anyone else's trade ideas. Trade your plan, trade your rules. These are just some ideas that you might want to put on a list. So first off, let's take a look at some of our big banks in here. They're holding up pretty well. Morgan Stanley has kind of slipped past its upside trend, but you can see it's still holding in here quite bullish. So if we can continue to hold this bullish support in here, we just need that kick here to the upside, and then I think Morgan could move on through and show some really good bullishness. So I would keep an eye on that. Take a look at Citibank. Now Citibank is trying to recover. We broke some support in here, broke back through that downtrend. We're still holding in that upside trend. So in this range anywhere, if we can get that little bit of kick of bullishness, that might push right on through. Worth paying attention to. Goldman's doing the same kind of thing, trying to find that new trend in here to the upside. So keep an eye on Goldman. You might want to take a look at JP Morgan. It's still looking good, and it did follow through and break back through this resistance. So you can see a little bit of trend in here, just maybe a little rest. And I would look for that opportunity. Maybe we can stretch back up through and break into new highs here in JP Morgan. Worth taking a shot at anyway. Take a look at Apple. Apple continues to set up here nicely. Now, there has been a little bit of concern from some analysts giving it some downgrades and things like that. But that being said, this is a very, very bullish chart. Bullish upside trend. Everything's looking good. Holding on to support. All this really needs is a little kick. Tried to go, as you can see, yesterday and then faded back. But watch that carefully. It might kick right in here and start moving this right on up to some of those new record highs. Worth paying attention to, I think. There's a few things out there in retail that are showing a little tiny bit of interest. Take a look at Kohl's. Kohl's breaking through this downtrend in here, trying to push back up, tried to get going, but yesterday faded back just a little bit. So watch this right in here. If we can get a little bit of bullish energy in here, we might see Kohl's just stretch right on through this next area of resistance and push on through. Keep an eye on that. The Dollar Tree is also in a pretty nice setup here. You can see we've got an inverted head and shoulders type pattern setting up in here, and those bulls right now are doing a pretty good job. So if we can get a little bit of bullish push, we might fill this gap right over here with a good push up into that next resistance in the chart. Worth keeping an eye on. Dollar General is not one of those trades. It tried to get something going and completely fell apart. Ugly candle yesterday. I would be watching Dollar General for that chance that this is going to fall off of this shelf right here and move on through to some of the next areas of price support. So if you're looking for something short, might be worth keeping an eye there on Dollar General. So some mix in this, and when I look at some of these retail, they're not all bullish. Five Below yesterday also had a little bit of problem here. They were setting up in a bullish pattern, and then wham, just a big push lower. So I would be careful here on this one as this breaks the support in here in the chart. It could easily follow through to the downside, but if it were to bounce back into that downtrend or just consolidate over, I'd be looking for that next opportunity to short on Five Below as well. Take a look at Macy's. Macy's continuing to look just pretty darn good here. It had a good push in here on Wednesday, faded back just a tiny little bit yesterday. Need to adjust my line in here, but as you can see, if we can hold in this pattern up here, then I'd just be looking for that next opportunity for this guy to find that push right on through to the upside. Worth paying attention to, I think, in Macy's. Take a look at a Mongo here. Old Mongo trying to hold some support here in the chart. I think that's a nice bullish pattern setting up in here. Just needs a little bit of hint of bullishness, and we might break this right on through to that next move to the upside. Worth paying attention to. Wayfair is a nice looking chart. Nice pop on earnings, broke through, resting consolidation in here. No particular worries on that. As you can see, we haven't even, with all of that price action, we haven't even really dipped into the gap here. So as that holds, watch this carefully here for that opportunity that Wayfair may push right on through to the upside. Now, taking a look at Amazon here, we had that big gap up. We have a giant hole underneath this, and this morning they're trying to push that down into that hole. So if we fall into this major gap here, I do see a possibility that we could see Amazon do more of a protracted pullback in here toward filling that gap. If we were to fill it completely, that could be a little bit of a concern here in Amazon. But if those bulls fight back, if we dip down into here and then just hold and rest in this area, I think there might be an opportunity there in Amazon coming, worth paying attention to. Fourth quarter tends to be pretty good for Amazon on holiday sales, so keep an eye on that. How about Roku? Roku's a nice looking chart setting in here, resting in this consolidation, popped up nicely after earnings in here. I see that possibility if we can hold in this pattern up in here, just wait for that next opportunity. It might have to wait until it gets all the way out here to that little upside trend, but watch that carefully in here. Could go at any time. I'd kind of keep an eye on Roku. And I'm going to continue to talk about UPS in here. I think UPS is an interesting chart. Pulling back, fell into the gap of that move. Let's see if it can hold on in here along this trend. You can see we got a little bit of buying that came in there yesterday. If those bulls can start hanging on here, we might see UPS push on through to the upside, and we've certainly seen FedEx make that move to the upside, finally breaking on through yesterday, following up to the upside. FedEx is looking pretty good. So I wouldn't chase FedEx here, but any kind of little rest or pullback consolidation of any kind, I'd be looking for that next opportunity to pick something up in FedEx. So there's a few stocks for you to pay attention today. Obviously, I'm running this video a little bit long, but hope this video finds you well. Hopes that you have a really great day in your trading, and I want to wish you all a fantastic weekend as well. Y'all take care, be safe. As always, I wish you all the very best, and I'll see you back here bright and early Monday morning. Take care, everybody.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail, trading with heart where the profits prevail.